What's good, YouTube? It's the one and only Fourth and Goal, better known as Rigby, man, and we're back in with another video. Now, in the last video, we talked about 5 overrated / 5 players who I think teams should move on from. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 underrated, undervalued players that teams should, or players need a big contract or need more recognition, man. So let's get straight into the video. If you like this content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and turn the bell notification on. And let's get straight into it. Now, our first player today is going to be Tayshaun Gibson, man. Now, as you all know, Tayshaun Gibson is a strong safety for the San Francisco 49ers. He plays strong safety and free safety. He's a really great coverage guy. He's always been one of those great coverage guys. He was on the historic 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars team, and he was also on the Cleveland Browns team where he made a Pro Bowl back in 2014. Now, as you can see, 61 total tackles, 5 interceptions, 8 pass deflections, a 51.5 rating, and 0 touchdowns. Now it is kind of hard to really determine, is it Tayshaun Gibson or is it the coverages? Is it, the D-line is causing so much pressure that, sometimes they just throw it in blind, or whatever. But in zone coverage, he is really phenomenal. Now, in zone coverage, he's given about 10 receptions on 15 targets, which is at 66.7%, 131 yards, 4 interceptions, and 3 pass deflections on 54.4 QBR. Now, the thing is, though, he has had a better year back in 2014, where he gave about 12 receptions on 20 targets and had a 41.9 rating and 5 interceptions. Part of that was because that secondary was loaded. You had Joe Hayden, you had Tayshaun Gibson, and you also had Dante Whitner, man. Hittner, boy, was up there knocking dudes out. But no, the D-line that year, it was decent. They were, well, bad actually. There was bottom 5 in sacks, bottom 5 in pressures, and it just seems like the secondary was really, really good, and Tayshaun Gibson, he was part of that. And so even when you have him in this role of just being a pure coverage guy, back in 2017, he had about 30 targets, 17 receptions, 61.8 rating, and 4 interceptions. And it just seems like when he's just a pure coverage guy, he can just shut down one side of the field, the middle third, or wherever he's at, man. And that's why I think he's really undervalued. A lot of people look at the Niners, they look at Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and they look at the other safety. I don't know how to say his name. I'm sorry. Now, another player that we got to talk about is Carl Granderson, man. Now, Carl Granderson, he is an edge rusher for the New Orleans Saints, man, as you can see. And, bro, he's a really underrated run stopper, man. As you can see, his 2022 stats put up some really solid numbers, man. 53 total tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. But that doesn't really tell the whole story. We got to dive in just a little bit deeper. Now, as you all can see, Carl, he had about 24 stops, 24 run stops, which is about 11.6%. He had about 7% on missed tackle, which is pretty good. But we got to talk about the Saints run D. Now, they gave up 492 rushing attempts, which, okay, teams ran the ball. That was the 7th most. 2,218 yards, which was 9th most. 14 total touchdowns or rushing touchdowns, which was, tied for 6. Okay, that's pretty decent. And then they gave up the 9th most rushing yards, 130 yards per game. Now, yes, it's not the bottom of the bottom, but the thing is, if Carl wasn't there, I think they would have been way worse of a rushing defense team. And to further my point, in the 8 games that he played 40% of snaps or less, they gave about 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns, man, which is pretty abysmal, man. So about 100 yards per game. Now, moving on to our third player, that is Kolton Miller. Now, Kolton Miller, to me, he's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. And quite frankly, he's probably the best blindside left tackle in the AFC right now. Probably him and Orlando Brown are 1 and 2, 1A, 1B, whatever. But as you can see his stats, 4 sacks and 3 of which were in true passing sets, 5 hits, 2 were in true passing sets, 24 hurries, 18 in true passing sets, and 33 pressures, and 18 were in true passing sets. Now, when you look at the other linemen, again, he is top 10 in pretty much every position, and pretty much at the left tackle position, he's like top 3. And when we look at Derek Carr was only sacked 27 times. He was pressured 18%. Now, I understand that he did not play a full season. He played 15 games, but that is still pretty impressive. Now, the thing is, last year he was sacked 40 times. Yes, 40 times. And as we know, a lot of the top D linemen, D edgemen, they like to line up on the blind side a lot of the times. And so this is pretty impressive to me. I think he's very underrated. I think he deserves more recognition and at least make a Pro Bowl. Now, the next player on this list is Robert Tonyan, man. Now, you don't really hear his name too much. Yes, he's on the Packers, but the thing is, he's a tight end, and he's not a high premium tight end, and he's very underrated. Again, this is an underrated list. Now, the thing is, in 2022, he had 63 targets, 53 receptions. That's 84%, 470 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, I understand, that is not really good numbers, but we got to back this up to 2020. Because in 2020, he proved that he can be a really great second option or even a third option. 58 targets, 52 receptions. That's about 90%, 586 yards. And he was tied in first place with Travis Kelce with 11 touchdowns, man. And that is just super good. And it just appears that once he became the #1 true target, that, he was locked up, or, teams just game plan around him. Now, the thing is, he caught 84% in 2022. In 2021, he only played like 4 or 5 games. He got hurt. But in 2020, 90% of balls were caught. That is super impressive to me. And the thing is, it's okay to be a #2, a #3 option. It's okay. Just know your role. Not everybody can be a Travis Kelce or a, Gronk, Shannon Sharp. It's okay to be a #2 or #3 option. If anything, we need players to just know their roles and to know the fact that, hey, I'm a #2 option. And quite honestly, I think if you went to a team that has really good receivers and just need a passing, catching tight end, he will fit right on in. Now, the last player we got to talk about is Jermaine Pratt, man. As you can see, he is super fast, super athletic. He can wrap up. He can run sideline to sideline, man. He is super good to me. Very underrated. As y'all know, it's an underrated list. I gotta keep saying it. His 2022 stats, he had 99 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 10 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions, which is pretty decent. But the thing is, I think he's one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL right now. Because in zone coverage, he had 35 targets, 23 receptions, about 66%, 2 interceptions, and 62.1 rating. Now, I understand these don't look super good, but these are really good linebacker numbers. Now, defensive back, on the other hand, 35, 23 receptions, 65%, that's pretty decent. But for a linebacker, this is extremely well. I mean, it's just extremely good. Mainly because linebackers, they're not really known to be really good at zone coverage. Now they're known to be fast, but they're fast because, running backs are fast. And sometimes in the open field or trying to chase quarterbacks, you got to be fast. But the thing is, I just think that 62.1 rating is just so underrated, man. And to further prove my point, because the Bengals at the team, they had the lowest QBR rating at 80.1, 58.9 completion percentage, which is the lowest, and the second fewest touchdowns. And a lot of it has to do with Jermaine Pratt. Now, I understand they have a semi-decent secondary, Jesse Bates and Von Bell. But the thing is, though, quarterbacks don't always just attack the safeties in the corners. Sometimes they attack the inside. They attack the linebackers. And the thing is, a 80.1 rating as a team is super good. 58.9 completion percentage is super good. And again, you got to attack everywhere around the field, not just the safeties in the corners. And that's why I think he's super underrated. Now, the thing is he's on his contract year, and a lot of middle linebackers are getting paid. And I think he deserves to get not necessarily $100 million, but at least 40, 50, 60, not 40, 50, 60 to $70 million. Because I just think he's a big part of that defense, and if you try and just let him walk, it's going to be hard to replace him. But that will pretty much do it for this video. The 5 players who I think are really undervalued. Now, I understand this video was not as detailed or as long as the first one, mainly because I had to get, I was prolonging this video and this should have been out, so I'm so sorry about that. But hey, next video we're going to be back to it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we are out, man. Peace.